Hello and welcome to another Wednesday evening chat with Louise. The voice is coming back, we are getting there. Snowy day in Lincolnshire, so I hope you're all keeping warm and you're all keeping well, and thank you for being here with me again. No farmers, no food. Well, yesterday saw the march in London from the farmers, and a lot of people, I've been reading the comments online. I'm a farmer's daughter, this is very close to my heart. And I think it's sad that some people just see farmers as being these really wealthy people that drive around in Range Rovers and, are just taking lots of handouts from the government. And I just wanted to just share my perspective of it, if you like. My father died Christmas, where are we coming to this year? I'll be 59 this year, I was 40, 19 years ago. And I still, at harvest time, get what I call harvest anxiety. Now, for anybody who doesn't understand that, when it's wet and it's raining, it can be such hard work to try and get a harvest in. When Dad first started, he had a little tiny combine, didn't even have a cab on it, and he used to have to wear a mask because the dust, he actually ended up with what they call farmer's lung from the dust from the wheat from harvesting. And I remember him progressing to getting a cab on, and then another year he would get a better combine. He was so clever with his hands. He left school at 14, but he could mend anything. He even built kit cars from scratch. He was really clever like that. Always into his motorbikes, always had something he was tinkering on, making models. So yes, that was part of me growing up as a farmer's daughter. We knew from a very early age that the farm would not support any of us, even if we wanted to go into farming. It was only 200 acres, and it was my grandfather and my dad that farmed it until my grandfather's death. He died at 78 and my dad died at 70. I think that says a little bit about the life that they led. As in, they were out there, they were in the fresh air, but they worked their bodies hard. And my father actually died of being worn out. 70 years old, he came home from hospital and was told that his heart and his body weren't going to last any longer. They might give him another 6 months, but he wouldn't work anymore. Now, telling a farmer he can't work when it's in their soul, they listen to the rhythms and the nature. It's so much about them that day he actually saw all of us, he got us all together, he said his goodbyes, and he died in his sleep that night with a smile on his face. So this is Dad on a very exciting day when he first got his combine with a cab. And you can see how small the tractors were in those days, and look at how much equipment they had to have on the farm. We had cattle, we were arable. When we very first started, it was literally sheep and pig, everything. And as things progressed, Dad had to start thinking about how he could run the farm on his own. So you get to the stage where there's one man running what 2 men used to run. The equipment's having to get bigger because the time scales of getting things into the ground, getting things out, getting things done is getting harder. You'll see people combining and the trailers are pulling up the side. Well, a one-man band can't do that. He has to get his combine, drive it over to the trailer, he then has to get in that tractor, he has to drive it up to the grain store, unload, come back, start again. Such inefficient from time point of view. But what is a small farmer meant to do? Let's talk about the costs, because this is what the government's been talking about. Oh, it won't affect the farmers. Not many farmers. We're looking at this £1 million. A combine's $500,000. A tractor's 200k plus. You start adding up all this equipment. The hedge cutters. Not only do they cut the hedges for their own farms, they do it for local people as well. When it snows, who clears the roads? It's the farmers. When something breaks, who do you take it to? One of the farmers. I'm just trying to put the perspective of how an important part of the community they are. Not just about growing the food, though I live in Lincolnshire and we are one of the biggest producers of vegetables in the country. And at the moment, Lincolnshire is fighting pylon routes, cabling routes. They bring the whole of the infrastructure down from Scotland through the coastline, but then they want to bring it into Lincolnshire and then bring it straight through the middle of the farming country. We're having all the solar panels on the fields. Why aren't they on houses? Why aren't the new builds having them on? You know, I plan to put them on my own. Let's be responsible, but let's be responsible without decimating what is our farming community. So the farmers feel attacked from all sides. So this is really the tipping point, if you like. There has been suicides over the last few weeks. People don't kill themselves just because they're not going to get a little bit of money. People kill themselves because they're genuinely frightened. One of the letters, I think it was to the Telegraph, was a third generation family. Mum lives there, who owns the farm. Her son and daughter live there. Their son, with his 4 children, when she dies, it will have to be sold to pay the inheritance tax. That's that. That's 2 families that have lost everything. So there has to be other ways. We have to look at the corporations, the big people, the people that are avoiding it. So that's me fighting the corner for the farmers today. What else do they bring to us? Animal husbandry, all these things that small farms that are getting pushed out. And I know that the government thought by doing this they were going to stop people, supposedly like, say, Mr. Dyson, for example, that are coming in and they're doing it for tax reasons. But actually, some of these people are doing good things for the countryside. They are looking after the countryside. They are making food for our nation. You know, they are employing people. There is employment for sons of farmers that can't afford to keep going. There's so much wrong with the system at the moment. And I do think, rather than having a go at the farmers, let's have a think about all the other things they face. The weather. When single farm payments came in, everybody was going, oh, they're being given handouts from the government. I know so many farmers at that time wanted to give up because they are businessmen, in the sense that they are businessmen and they know how to run their farm. They know how to do what they need to do. But all equally, they're not accountants, they're not taxmen, and so many of them are so near the borderline money-wise to employ these specialists. It's so hard. I remember sitting there trying to do the mapping with Dad, and we've only got 200 acres to worry about. To be a farm nowadays, you need 5,000 acres plus to actually start to look at turning a profit. Most farmers have come to the conclusion they love the lifestyle, and as long as they can exist, they will keep going. And that's kind of the sacrifices that they've made. They're happy to exist in return for being able to do the job that they love. But the real fear that they can't pass that on to their children is so prominent. And the other thing is, I don't think people realise the risks. I'm hoping people have watched Clarkson's Farm, because that did a lot of good for farming. The outlay on fertiliser, on seed wheat, on seed potatoes, and all the other things that they have to put in, that gamble, that hundreds of thousands of pounds that has to be outlaid, not knowing if you're even going to get anything back, knowing that that 1 year could break you. That's another thing. People just don't seem to see that. I'm just going to stop this for a minute because there's something I'd like to read you. Red tractors and one man. The farmer walks his land and sees and understands as no other can. As he sows the seeds of wheat, some blow on the wind of life, as the wheat in turn gives life. This man, this farming man, strong of mind and strong of back, though gentle to the land. This man, though may not be given to many words, but understands the language of the earth, and talks to it with earnest understanding, as no other can. He watches the seasons come, and watches the skies change, knowing just when to plant the seed, knowing just when to harvest the crop, thereby gathering Mother Earth's gift to fulfil his labours of toil and fulfil the needs of the people. With the harvest completed, this man can reflect on the times his back was breaking and aching, and the sweat from his brow dropped back onto the soil. With the crop safely gathered and the winter creeping nearer, the man now settles to a peaceful rest, as this farming man can now ease back and take his dutiful rest. The tractors are now silent. there is quiet in the yard. His family is safe and secure. His mind is at peace, and with a knowing smile, he closes his eyes, so as to rest with the land in eternal peace.